And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good evening, enjoying life, living life, and loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody who wants to share some love. And, of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. We got Russ with us tonight. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you? Everything good?
I am well. I'm well.
Good.
Same old.
In the chat as well. Yeah.
Yes. Grateful. Appreciate everybody's support, of course, always. And we're going to talk tonight about SATA and NIST. What is it? Do you know what the underlying truths are about Satanist as it is in the modern times? I'm hopefully going to show you a path from the day you were born to the very internet that we're using today, and how it's so important to realize the data elements that you're using and the venues that you use them in. And it all, again, goes to the Census Bureau, the state's vital statistics jurisdiction, the enumeration at birth, all of that. So we're going to take a look. As you saw, Smashing Pumpkins, of course, is the credit to the little short there. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Where is it? There we go. And through the enumeration at birth, there's the development of a cage code. Cage code. And this is from Defense Logistics Agency. What is a cage code for? Cage code is a commercial and government entity. Okay? Now, if you remember, we spoke about that United States citizen being a United States business, and a United States business being a United States citizen, right? So upon enumeration at birth, where the conference of a nationality of United States citizenship is acquired or accomplished or recorded or filed, however you want to express that, it becomes known in the public record. And then from that time forth, we're all indoctrinated, just like our parents before us, to say something that we don't really know, that we are a United States citizen, an individual, which turns out to be a federal employee of some sort or a contracting agent thereof, an officer or agent deemed necessary by the board. Secretary of Commerce, and it's the Bureau of Vital Statistics is regulated by the Department of Commerce. It's all commercial. That is its intent. So, is a unique identifier assigned to suppliers to various government or defense agencies. So again, under Departmental Regulations 5 U.S.C. 301, we find that it's applicable to the Department of Defense in plain writing that there's a minimum birth registration requirement. It's not applicable to anybody else. But what happens in that process is now the record reflects that you are the supplier to various government and defense agencies of certain data elements that you supply through any record, an application, a request form, a filing, a registration, a deed, as well as to government agencies themselves and also various organizations. And again, that's from Defense Logistics Agency. So let's go down and take a look at some of this stuff. Is a CAGE code the same as a SAMS number? No, SAMS is Systems Acquisition Management. It's another unique identity, or unique entity ID. They're all identifiers, okay? And remember, it's the individual's name and number identify a record. That's why it's enumerated. You are not enumerated. Does a contractor need a CAGE code? There's no simple answer to the question of whether subcontractors need a CAGE code or not. It is dependent upon the individual contract between the subcontractor, prime contractor, and the federal government. It's unique to the federal government. Otherwise, you can have two contractors privately that can contract, fully capable of having their own full powers to do so without a third party intervening. Can a company have two CAGE codes? Can anyone get a CAGE code? There are specific requirements that a business needs to meet to be eligible for a CAGE code. The business must have a physical location and a Dun and Bradstreet number. This is no longer so. They've changed this. Additionally, the business must be registered in the SAM, or the System for Award Management, SAM. See, they're awards. Awards from what? The federal government to contract for them as a United States business organized under the laws of the United States. Federal government means all entities of the government of the United States, including the United States Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission. Keep posting all you want, but learn to discern the difference in what you post, where you post, and how it's posted. Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. How does my company get a CAGE code? Who assigns a CAGE code? The DLA, Defense Logistics Agency, assigns the CAGE code. SAM will then receive and apply the CAGE code to entity registration. No further action by the registrant is necessary to apply the CAGE code to an entity registration, unless DLA requests additional information. Is the CAGE code still used? Yes, when you register in SAM.gov, the Defense Logistics Agency will assign you a CAGE code, NCAGE, provided by NATO for international businesses. Now tell me how that Constitution of the United States denies you rights of international communications at any level if they are too delegated by NATO. A cage code is required in order to bid on federal contracts and grants and having an active registration in SAM.gov. Are cage codes still used? Again, that's United States Business Registration.us. How many cage codes can a company have? A bit like a social security number for your business. If your business includes more than one facility, then you will need multiple cage codes. Is that telling you that you can get multiple social security numbers? Question that comment, folks. This is from federalcontractregistry.com. It's a bit like a social security number for your business. In other words, it's a tax identification number. It's for tracking. How much does a cage code cost? There is no cost to obtain a cage code, but the process can be tedious and time-consuming. How long does it take to get a cage code? Your cage code will be assigned by the Defense Logistics Agency. Now remember, the Defense Logistics Agency is that Bureau of Vital Statistics. It's already been logged. DLA, also known as cage, after it completes the validation process. See, there's no commercial and government entity registered at such a level yet that proves that this government, under any administrative authority, has authority to administrate your private affairs, because that corporate entity doesn't exist in a valid form to do so yet. This usually takes 2 to 3 weeks, depending on if the DLA has any follow-up questions during the registration and approval process. Do you need a cage code for each location? Remember, that location's important, folks. That's that address you keep using. It's more evidence that there's a cage code. And again, it's more evidence that it's being directed from the United States Postal Service under the Postal Regulatory Commission. Again, it's their property, right? Listed each location of subcontractor performance listed on the DD Form 254 is required to reflect corresponding unique cage code for each listed location, unless the work is being performed at a government facility. But no, it's being performed at the principal place of business, your residential address, as you claim you're a resident, federal, state, or municipal officer or agent whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board. It never happened. It was never validated. The certification is false. It can be put in for a private placement, for a reissue, or a new issue. How do I get a free cage code? What is a cage code for a small business? How do I request a cage code? Do you have to pay for a cage code? What is the difference between a cage code and a DOD AAC, Department of Defense? They're both Department of Defense, right? What is a cage code highest level owner? This type of code is known as a NATO cage, N-cage code. Highest level owner means the entity that owns or controls an immediate owner of the offerer, or that owns or controls one or more entities that control an immediate owner of the offerer. That sounds like a government controlled or owned corporate entity or organization. I think that's in 5 USC or 5 CFR 575.102 if I'm not mistaken. I may be. And notice that's acquisitions. So that's Title 48, 52.204-17. That's that same one that has acquisitions 48 CFR 52.212-5. Contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes or executive orders hyphen commercial items, commercial services. What is the cage code for Home Depot? Evidently 1MX075. So let's think about this, folks. Were you born a rat in a cage? Do you feel like a rat in a cage? Sometimes I wonder, because that U.S. passport that they pose that you got to have in order to leave the quote country, and you have to be some kind of citizen, that I have to profess some kind of commercial document in order to be a sojourner or stranger with our Father which art in heaven, as I travel across his lands and his waters, again with him. I don't understand this false concept. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give unto the Father which belongs to the Father. It's all commercial paper. You can get this here. This here is commercial paper. It's from the local bus depot. It's worth 50 cents. I get two of them, make $1, and it's all equally transferable as long as I know somebody that's willing to give me dollar for dollar. I think that's fucking righteous, don't you? Learn how to use it, dollar for dollar. See, again, the use of the Social Security number is the extension of credit. A card, plate, coupon book, or other credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. So why do you have to do it by, through, or in, or on contracts? You were already given an authorized representative card. See, this is the fallacy of their system. Oops. So, continuing on, let's get on to Social Security Administration Cage Code. It says, what is a cage code and why does a government, let's pull it up, it says, why do government contractors need one? See, that's that United States citizenship that's conferred upon you as a nationality, saying that you're a contract postal unit using a principal place of business as your residence and willing to receive their offers and not know that you've been displaced, dispositioned, depositioned. Says, who is required to have a cage code? Says, is obtaining a cage code mandatory? Remember what I said earlier? You may not be able to get one. Now it's saying it's mandatory. Yes. But it says obtaining a cage code is mandatory in order to do business with the federal government or receive federal grant funding. So when you sign up for the SS5, isn't that the application to obtain a cage code? Do you suppose that Social Security number is supported by a cage code saying that you've been authorized to accept the offers on behalf of the government? Did you get your commission off of all those acceptances and all the money that they made off of those? You know, when you accepted that traffic citation, the divorce papers, that's a good one. How about child support? Cage code is a 5-character ID number used by federal government to identify vendors. You know, like I said before, those UCC forms, those are all vendor forms. So keep using them. without a proper cage code and access to it to be able to prove what you're doing. What is a cage code or EIN number? Unlike your Social Security number and your employer identification number, which are sensitive information and should not be publicly shared. So why is it everybody's looking up these EIN numbers and they're out in the public? You can look up a corporate business's EIN number, right? I mean, is that sensitive information or not? Do I find inconsistencies everywhere I go? Are these people babbling and not knowing what they're talking about?
It would certainly seem so.
Right. The cage code, however, was designed to be used in many publicly accessible systems used by the United States federal government. Then how the fuck was I imposed upon the Social Security number, not a cage code number? So I could use it in the publicly accessible systems instead of the private Social Security number that I've been compelled all my life to use instead. Can anybody explain this to me? This is coming from the Government Chamber of Commerce, which means government contractors. Did you know that enumeration at birth, that statement of live birth, has to go through the local Chamber of Commerce? That's part of the delegated authorities of the registrar, the municipal clerk, and of course the Postal Service. See, the Postal Service is the one that's related to all portations, even the transportations. You know, all those portals that all these things have to go through and pass through, all the different jurisdictions to have everybody give them their stamp. That's all them 500 plus federal agencies along with some private ones, you know, like private prisons, private jail systems. That's that enumeration at birth that gives them all those statistical elements and the perfect reason to access that record for its statistical elements. Who issues a cage code? A cage code is assigned by the Department of Defense. Again, like the enumeration at birth, it is an assignment by and through an agreement with an official of the state to assign a number to a Social Security account in the name of an individual, thereby creating a record known as a beneficiary, wherein the benefactor is the one that gives all the data elements. That's the only thing that's supposed to happen. But in that, those data elements are supposed to be true and correct. We've been deceived in what kind of data elements we're supposed to be inputting and what kind of data elements are being used in the background, you know, in the back office. Everyone getting that Social Security number is using a credit card number, thereby a credit device, in order to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. It's just that most people don't know this and don't know how to operate it within that banking system by giving the proper directive of that knowledge. See, the bank is the borrower. Again, remember, the dealership is the one buying through a purchase order. And therefore, if they give you the purchase order, you get to make out the order. And represents your company's physical address. Again, that physical address for GSA's mailings, Government Service Administrations. It's all part of administration, and it's for payments. And their administration is who's supposed to pay it. Like I said, the credits have already been established. And administrative records. Government agencies may also use cage codes to verify a security clearance for a pre-award survey. Why would I need a cage code? A commercial and government entity is a unique identifier assigned to suppliers to various government or defense agencies, as well as to government agencies themselves and also various organizations. Cage codes provide a standardized method of identifying a given facility. Why do you think they need that image on that license? That's the face. That's what they interface with at a specific location. This particular camera here is interfacing with me, and I am interfacing with it. And everybody that views it is interfacing. This is a facility. It is a facilitation. It is a facilitation in action and a facility in noun form, a place. I'm here, you're there. There's even two different places, but the connection is the facilitation of you watching, me showing. How long does it take to get a cage code? Remember, before it said 2 to 3 weeks. Yep, 2 to 3 weeks. So let's go back to it. Oops, wrong one. What is a cage code and why do government contractors need one? And I want to take a break real quick. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe. And feel free to hit that PayPal link and share some love. In the meantime, here's the panel link in case anybody wants to join the panel again. And so why do government contractors need one? A cage code is a 5-character alphanumeric unique identifier assigned by Defense Logistics Agency, and cage codes are assigned to businesses, organizations, etc. that wish to pursue contracts or grants from the United States federal government. And again, I'm telling you, that statement of live birth was mom's initial informant as a signature and gave information informally that she was going to take upon a government grant, health and welfare for her and her children, despite a father. And therefore, she took on a national patronage and contributed to that, meaning she distributed what wasn't hers to distribute. She gave a child into the commercial realm, didn't need to be kidnapped. That's the presumption as that record poses. Just like the scriptures say, there's more desolate children than there are of the saved ones, of the married wife. In my 20 years as a government contractor, I knew enough to have my cage code, but never understood its purpose. That's a good one. Never understood its purpose, but I knew enough to have it. Especially when you consider the other unique IDs businesses use. In researching this article, I've realized the value and purpose of a cage code, where it is helpful to the government, the buyer. So if you're contracting with the government, again, it's saying they are the buyer. What did you sell them? How many times is it uniform throughout all jurisdictions? No matter what grammar, what jurisdiction they're in, no matter what grammar, it's still saying basically the same thing. And here we are finding that the guy that issues the purchase order is the one buying, and the one he issues it to is the one selling. So if the buyer is the one that's contracting with the government, or the contractor is contracting with the government, and the government is the buyer, then what is the contractor selling? If that's the presumption, what representative of value is there? and how it ties together with the other unique identifiers used in federal government contracting. Like I said, when it comes to the CMS Center, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is who contracts with Social Security Administration for the insurances. Social Security Administration administrates an accounting. It includes the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which provides the insurance bonding. It says taxpayer identifying
Medicare and Medicaid?
Yes, Centers for CMS.
CARE is federal, right? And CAID is the state level?
I have
Medicare is
no idea.
federal and Medicaid, I believe, is state.
Right. Anybody born in the state as a resident gets Medicaid. Anybody that qualifies through federal employment, such as a teacher, would then qualify for Medicare. And that's because you've got federal government bonds going in as far as retirement accounts, IPERs and 401ks and stuff. So it says taxpayer identification number, sensitive, not publicly available. Okay? That's your Social Security number and EIN. Award recipient, unique identifier, not sensitive, publicly available. So if they bought the data elements, what did you receive in return? You received an education and medication for autism and ADHD and ADD and all these misnomers, ad hominems, insanity, a spell of illness, popularity contest, thinking that your son wasn't quite good enough, so there must be something wrong with him because he's not good as the next one. Wherein you must have forgot the parable of the talents. Doesn't matter if he's only got one talent. You're supposed to help him develop that talent so he can go about the world and teach that world that talent. In exchange, he should be able to receive somebody else's talent, thereby have two talents. Because if you don't invest in the talent, then you ain't got shit. This is assigned. The Social Security number is assigned to you. Remember, the definition of you is an individual who owes a debt to the United States. That debt is that they were supposed to sell them something. What did you sell? What did they take? What are they using in their value system to create that value? They already took it. They already created it. It was already presumed. It's called credit. Without you and the credence of you being born, there is no extension of anything manual without that first spiritual existence of the living soul that took that first breath of God, making it an act of God, a loan, therefore a profit unto the nations. The commercial and government entity C.A.G.E. code is the full name of this unique identifier, but in government contracting, we just use C.A.G.E. code when referring to it. C.A.G.E. codes created a non-proprietary system created by the Department of Defense, are assigned and managed by the Defense Logistics Agency, C.A.G.E. Program Office. Unlike your Social Security number and company's EIN, C.A.G.E. codes are designated to publicly visible unique identifiers. According to Federal Acquisitions Regulations, FAR Part 4.1800, C.A.G.E. codes may be used to exchange data with another contracting entity. And again, if you're going to be exchanging data with another contracting entity, then that means that you have to have that C.A.G.E. code to do so from both parties to comprehend that that other party is also a contracting party. including contract administration activities. See, they're not administrating the contract parties. They're administrating the contracts because the contracts have to fall under their administrative definitions and such. Their language. So use their language. It is your individual. That's records maintained on individuals. Your Social Security record. Again, enumerated through the CMMS or CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medical Services, or Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is a different number. The Social Security number doesn't fit their numerical data format, so they use it and convert the Social Security number for the insurance bonds. This is also the same thing with birth date. The birth date is different than the file date. Why is that? Data Universal Numbering System, DUNS. And again, this is no longer used in the quality or state that it was before as the mandatory system. Now it is SAMS, and you can elect to use the Data Universal Numbering System otherwise. It says, while your Social Security number and EIN are sensitive, private information, and shouldn't be broadly shared, the DUNS number was designed to be publicly shared as a unique identifier. Other than that, so again, if you're assigned a Social Security number upon enumeration at birth, creating United States citizenship, an internationally protected person, and that unique identifier is in the American interest already. Again, I ask, how is it that the people that should be knowing these simplicities are not following that and understanding that? It's all right here. It's all public record. Do they not read the stuff themselves? The Commercial and Government Entity Cage Code is the full name of this unique identifier. No, we already read that one. It says cage codes have been required for federal government contractors in 2014. And greetings, brother and sister. How you doing tonight?
All is well, all is well.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Greetings.
Just popped in.
Awesome. Awesome to hear. Good to have you guys. Again, thank you for everybody's support. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And let's see, let's get back to it. It says making them relatively new unique identifier. They are a replacement to the Federal Supply Code for manufacturers and National Supply Code for manufacturer. Now this comes in later. We're going to be talking about the industry classifications and stuff. It says cage codes may be used to exchange data with another contracting activity, including contract administration activities and contract payment activities. So it's either administration or payment. And again, that's a service aspect and therefore part of the public trust. If you're not a public trustee, then you're not supposed to be making payments. You're supposed to be giving directives. Exchange data with another system that requires the unique identification of a contract entity. Important thing about developing your own internet site. Identifying when offers are owned or controlled by another entity. Understanding true ownership. So let's talk about that identity that you got in your wallet that says State of Iowa on it. Who owns that card and controls the contents of that card?
State of.
Absolutely. And you're the subcontractor, secondarily or primarily liable in that capacity. one or the other.
Who holds the primary active degree of fault?
Everybody, shared equally. Again, the true benefit is knowledge, people. Once you
They
ascertain this
created it.
knowledge, absolutely, but you were dumb enough to keep going on it when you certainly became a certain age and should have been able to discern for yourself that you yourself weren't a fool and were going to quit jumping off a bridge like everybody else. Something's wrong here, folks. No man's got authority over me. I was born and raised in the Word of God, and I shall not waver from that. Who are you? I've been saying this all my life. You ain't my daddy. And that's
That's been
the thing
most of my
about,
problems.
yeah, and that's
Yeah,
the thing about owing nobody anything but to love one another because we're truly brothers and sisters in equal capacity walking together. Go ahead.
Well, you can't blame the people too much for being propagandized and lied to and everything hidden for so long till, like you say, we get 40, 50 years
No,
old and finally figure it out. That's
no, but
bullshit.
I can, no, but I can blame, no, but I can point out their, um, blatant laziness because again I'm telling you, don't believe me, brothers and sisters. Don't believe your neighbor. Don't believe the government, for crying out loud. Don't believe your neighbor or your mother. Make sure you do your research so you know, because that's all it takes. Once you
Yeah.
start doing your research
All,
and see this stuff and how it correlates with your life, and again it comes with unlearning what you've already learned and relearning that concise English so you can read this stuff and comprehend it. I can explain it, but I can't comprehend it for you. Go ahead.
yeah, all I know is I never signed up or filled out or did a form for a social security card. I never filed for one. So
Yeah, and that's the issue is they're trying to use some kind of signature in a capacity that it's not meant for. And again, that's that 18 USC 1589 forced labor. I shouldn't have to write a motherfucking thing down. Don't you understand? My yay is my yay, my nay is my nay. And that's what we're getting at. People have been indoctrinated into believing this language and its importance without understanding its very exportation. You're the one doing it. You're the one giving the data elements without understanding the data elements that you're giving them, and how to retroactively fix that. Start learning how to learn yourself so you can teach it to your next generations. So it
yeah,
says,
that's the problem. They don't want to let us exit the system too easily. They make it really hard.
yep,
I remember when I went up and rescinded the right to vote. Make sure that was out of the way. And one time I did a job for a lady, and she was worried about me. She was somewhat of a truther back then as well, and where I hadn't picked up the check in a few days. So she got worried, thinking something had happened to me or something. So she called them to come and check on me. And when he came down the driveway, and I said, "What?" I was dumbfounded, right? I was like, "Are you serious right now?" And then he says, "Well, we check on all of our residents." And I looked up at him. I said, "Well, that's great, but I'm not a resident." And he just, the look on his face was priceless.
yeah. Well, it comes with a matter of comprehension again, and like I said, a lot of these people are stuck in the cognitive dissonance. I was there for a while too. I'm just thankful that I'm where I am today, and I believe where I'm at today to be a good standing, and hope to do nothing but improve that. So, as to
You as
everybody
well,
else,
brother.
all I'm trying to do is again show you my research, how I observe it, how I discern it, and hopefully be able to explain it to you so you can comprehend it. So let's see here. Okay, let's go back to the last one there. Back to the Social Security Administration cage code. Um, oh, that's right. Provided a standardized method of identifying a given facility at a specific location. Um, That's again established at birth. And this is U.S. Department of Justice, Organization, Mission, and Functions Manual, United States National Central Bureau, Interpol. You see the portal. You see the transportation, the different jurisdictions of the national of the United States, and the Central Bureau. The Director General of the International Bureau, the Bureau of Vital Statistics. It's all about the logistics, and those are Department of Defense. They're applicable to the Department of Defense, and they go to the National Archives as a matter of statistical record to keep track of employment stats and all kinds of things I'm not going to get into. Just all the different statistical elements of the population that is in those records as a personal record. And that personal record is individual and says that you're some kind of contractor for the government. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto the Father what belongs to the Father. Interpol, Washington, U.S. National Central Bureau, Director, Deputy Director. See, these are the guys that are directing everybody. Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, Office of General Counsel. It's like the captain's mast in the Blue Jackets manual. Then it goes to Operations Command Center, Information Technology. This is what we're talking about today, those data elements. Still to this day, it's the information technology that used to start on papyrus. In the paper form anyway. Otherwise, we have hieroglyphs and cave paintings, and that was information technology. It was in form of hieroglyphs. It was in form of cave paintings. Administrative Services Division, Financial Services Division. Then we have Counterterrorism, Global Policy Services, Border Security, and Transnational. Ooh, we hear about the transparents and the transgenders and all the transhumans, and now we got transnational too, right? And what's that dual jurisdiction of a United States citizen with the resident? Now we have transnational. Is that a triple citizenship? What's that? What do these terms and conditions mean, people? I'm only pointing it out. Interpol, Washington is the United States National Central Bureau, USNCB, National Central Bureau, and represents the Attorney General in the International Criminal Police Organization. Pursuant to statute and regulation. Contract terms and conditions, I don't give a rat's ass. Now we're just talking about international contracts.
Well, the Bureau would be the bank, isn't it?
Well, the Bureau is a dresser. What's that address? Does it need to be redressed? Didn't your daddy dress you right, boy? Maybe he didn't dress you the way you thought you should be dressed. Maybe you don't like that funny red, white, and blue clown suit, huh? As such, it serves as the official U.S. point of contact and coordination in Interpol's global police-to-police communications and criminal intelligence network. Its active participation in Interpol's policy making and governance functions helps protect U.S. law enforcement interests and ensure continued access to and sharing of Interpol's criminal investigative intelligence and information under a policy. See, all that data elements you give them, you're giving them out to the entire international venue. Why do you think people over in Philippines have your number and call you up and create these scams on you? Huh? Why do you think people send you these scams in the mail? You're the one doing it. Learn how to do it right so you can give the proper direct routing so it doesn't get out there in the open. Sorry, but this is being transacted to private number, Social Security number, so therefore it's got to be directed here, directly to the Treasury for discharge. Full acquittance and discharge, so nobody's held liable in any court. If anybody finds an error, just fix it. No accusations, no need for all that bullshit. Owe no man anything but to love one another. U.S. NCB mission includes, but is not limited to, advancing the law enforcement interests of the United States as the official representative to Interpol, transmitting information of a criminal justice, humanitarian, or other law enforcement related nature between U.S. and foreign law enforcement authorities. I want to point out here real quick, foreign law enforcement authorities. I'm not here to destroy your law. I'm here to fulfill the law. Force majeure, or to combat. I'm not in your war. I have a greater truth that I'm trying to express, and that's it. The where and whence of where we get our true credence. And coordinating and integrating, integral, integer, enumeration, information in investigations of an international nature. So when you were born and there was an enumeration, it was an integration of information in investigations of an international nature. It was the conference of a nationality. A component of the U.S. Department of Justice. USNCB is co-managed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, wherein they have the petition to redress for misidentification of information given by informant. Under a memorandum of understanding that reinforces cooperation between the two departments and exchanging international criminal investigative and humanitarian assistance information. Memorandum. That's the legacy. That's the memorandum that's forgotten. That's the memorandum of understanding that reinforces the cooperation between mom and this patronymical father that already qualifies and guarantees national security, domestic tranquility, and general welfare. In particular, the memorandum provides for the position of the U.S. NCB director to alternate between appointees from these departments, ensuring that each department is vested, that's your investment, in the mission of the U.S. NCB. As a National Central Bureau, the U.S. NCB is authorized to access and utilize 1-24/7 Interpol's encrypted virtual private network. So you see, even Interpol is a private entity. You understand what's being said here? If they were truly a transparent public entity, then it wouldn't have their own virtual private network, wherein you can only enter upon invite, whereas we have an internet for your entertainment. encompasses Interpol's criminal investigative and analytical databases, records, and system of notices and diffusions, which are requests for international law enforcement assistance and cooperation transmitted between NCBs. Moreover, the U.S. NCB is authorized to extend access to Interpol's global criminal investigative data to all U.S. law enforcement agencies. So now those federal agencies, through the enumeration at birth, that graph that we showed you many times, and we can always pull it up again if you don't remember that, the state's vital statistics jurisdiction graph, where it's that information is disseminated to over 500 federal public organizations as well as many private ones. You're selling the data elements without getting paid for them. You're not getting compensated. You're not getting reimbursed. You're not getting the credit for them. By strategically leveraging existing national information sharing environments, the U.S. NCB has enabled all U.S. law enforcement agencies to query Interpol data at street level, regardless of size, mission, or jurisdiction. See, like that physical street address, this is merely a physical address. So a physical address in the internet you can use and get a cage number for that and use that as your physical address. So long as it's understood that all transactions are committed to electronically as a matter of obtaining money, property, labor, and services on credit. Saves all the paperwork. All you got to do is keep an electronic record. It's already time-stamped and securitized. The U.S. NCB has integrated access to Interpol data with U.S. immigration and border lookout systems that create a formidable deterrent to the illicit international travel and transnational criminals and terrorists. And remember again that we were talking about the Homeland Security, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Again, that's the matter of the redress in all matters. No matter what location you're using for what identification, it's a matter of clarifying the identification for what it is. If it's a business identification, then this is the specific purpose it's used for. Here are the codes, da-da-da-da. It's set up in a contract system. It has enumerations for each different particular contract clause. Each one of them is enumerated, just as you see in the U.S. Code and the Code of Federal Regulations. The U.S. NCB provides support 24 hours a day, 365 a year to more than 18,000 local, state, federal, and tribal law enforcement agencies in the United States and their counterparts in 193 other Interpol member countries seeking assistance in criminal investigations that extend beyond their national borders. U.S. Department of Justice. So let's take a look at the actual federal acquisitions regulation that they have. In the meantime, you guys stop me anytime that you have any questions or comments you want to pull out. Because as we see here, it says, and this is 48 CFR 52.204-18, Commercial and Government Entity Code Maintenance. What's a main tenant? Anybody know who a main tenant is or what a main tenant is? What his duties are? As
Nope.
prescribed in as prescribed 10 ant. 1/10. 1/10.
Is
A
it
title
daddy?
holder. It's a title holder. Definition. Commercial and government entity code means an identifier, damn it, an identifier to assign to entities located in the United States or its outlying areas by the Defense Logistics Agency, commercial and government entity branch, to identify a commercial or government entity by unique location or, damn it, an identifier assigned by a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, or by the NATO Support and Procurement Agency. So again, they're procuring something. Agreeing with the term earlier that said the government is buying. They're offering government contracts for awards of assistance or grants. So they are buying. As an offer, they are buying something to promote something of their own. To entities located outside the United States and its outlying areas that the DLA Commercial and Government Entity Branch records and maintains in the Cage master file. Who's the holder of the record, guys? The Defense Logistics Agency. They hold the master file, right? For all commercial and government entities, right? Federal government means all entities of the government of the United States, including the United States Postal Service, wherein the post offices are inland marine installations, staffed with service workers, selectively, of course, getting paid commissions under the Postal Regulatory Commission. This type of code is known as a NATO cage code. I don't know why my thing is doing that. Contractors shall ensure that the cage code is maintained throughout the life of the contract for each location of contract, including subcontract and performance. For contractors registered in the System for Award Management, the DLA Commercial and Government Entity Cage Branch shall only modify data received from SAM in the Cage master file if the contractor initiates those changes via update of its SAM registration. Contractors undergoing a novation or change of name agreement shall notify the contracting officer in accordance with subpart 42.12. Remember, I spoke about that earlier. You can create more than one. Whereas Social Security number, can you create more than one? No, that's kind of a singular. That's an individual, and it's specific. Whereas you can create more names, just like I can create more of these fucking profiles on YouTube. You think you can excommunicate me? I'll create 150 of them. I'll create 3,000 of them. And I will be the one that keeps track of all them. I will keep them in a cage. I will enumerate them myself. Don't you get it? I have those same full powers. And I don't need a federal government. You think YouTube can't excommunicate me, but you can? Pretentious, bold, babble statement. Contractors, damn it. Contractors undergoing a novation or change of name agreement shall notify the contracting officer Contracting officer. In accordance with subpart 42.12, the contractor shall communicate. You like that term, don't you guys? See, when we're talking about communicate, we're talking about communicating means the conveyance of a debt. And so when you owe a debt to the United States, it's because you've been communicating with them as a contractor. And somehow they bought something and you didn't supply it to them. Really? You gave them all the data elements they asked for, right? Didn't you already give them the data required to be able to prove the contract? Wasn't it settled then? Isn't that what finances it? Wasn't that the representative of value, an obligation or other security of the United States, which doesn't matter who securitized it, it still remains an obligation or other security of the United States. See, it's a federal acquisition regulation by a federal government-controlled entity or owned entity. Department of Defense. Contractors located in the United States or its outlying areas that are not registered in SAM shall submit written change requests to the DLA Commercial and Government Entity Cage branch. Requests for changes shall be provided. Oh, wait a minute, we missed something here. What did I miss? I'm missing something here. Maybe it's down below. I'll get to it, I guess. Contractors located outside located in the United States or its outlying areas that are not registered in SAM shall submit written change requests to the DLA Commercial and Government Entity Cage branch. Damn it. Requests for changes shall be provided at and change requests to the Cage master file are accepted from the entity identified by the code. Contractors located outside the United States and its outlying areas that are not registered in SAM shall contact the appropriate National Codification Bureau, NSPA, or this one to request cage changes. Additional guidance for maintaining cage codes is available. And if the contract includes Federal Acquisitions Regulations Clause 52.204-2, security requirements, the contractor shall ensure that subcontractors maintain their cage codes throughout the life of the contract. So, you have a contractor and a subcontractor that are supposed to communicate with each other about a cage code in all these contracts. Every last one of them. How come nobody's communicating about this cage code? Isn't that the public disclosure to say, yeah, this is a valid contract according to the Federal Acquisitions? You know, since it's defense logistics, you know, we got to make sure we're not trading with the enemy. So here's the valid contract number. But instead, they've been using the Social Security number as the private number as an extension of credit to put it out that you're a postal contract unit, living in a principal place of business as a resident, and then getting a job so you can pay taxes as an individual so they can have records maintained on an individual procured through a license or an ID, where you gave them a birth certificate and a Social Security card to get that damn ID. Where the fuck did the credit go? Didn't you pay for that ID? How come the credit wasn't extended? Did somebody else take advantage of that not knowing? Was it an automated system? And these people are just doing their job. They don't know what's happening behind the scenes either. Because I guarantee you that's the case in most often. 98% of the people are fucking dumbass sheeple. Excuse me if that hurts. So let's get on to the next one. Oh, we already went over that one. SATA. Let's get on to Satanist. What is SATA NIST? Okay. Like I said, folks, I used to build and program computers. And so when we look at SATA NIST, oops, wrong one. SATA, serial AT attachment. Serial AT attachment. Now, serial means sequentially, in line, one after the other. Okay? It used to be parallel, which meant side by side. This is kind of the difference between collateral and the actual underlying security. You have the serial, which is the security, and then you have something parallel, which is called the collateral. This is your documentation. Okay? Now we have an electronic system that is a serial AT attachment. AT stands for advanced technology. Serial advanced technology attachment is a computer bus, a vehicle, a vehicular language interface, a substation, a port, a transit hub, interface. Remember I spoke about that earlier, interface. It's the facility, okay? Computer bus is the place. It's the facility, that interface that connects host bus adapters to mass storage devices such as hard drives, optical drives, the optics are high, and solid state drives, SSDs. You know, those SSDs in your phones and computers and everything. Serial ATA succeeded the earlier parallel ATA standard. Remember the standard method? So now we have a new standard method to become the predominant interface for storage devices. Serial ATA industry compatibility specifications originate from the Serial ATA International Organization. See, everything's international. Every document is an international incident, which are then released by the Insights, the International Committee for Informational Technology Standards. Every bit of that document has information, and that's an information technology in the old technological forms, definitive paper. We no longer use tablets. Well, we do, but they're electronic tablets. But we no longer use clay tablets and use impressions like that. We no longer use hieroglyphs. It's an information technology, and that information technology has always been based on data elements. History. SATA was announced in 2000 in order to provide several advantages over the earlier PATA, which kind of sounds like patent, right? PATA interface, such as reduced cable size and cost. 7 conductors instead of 40 or 80. Notice it's 7. Native hot swapping, faster data transfers. It is a transfer of property. Data is a intellectual property, and therefore it is a transfer of property. And if that data element has value in it, then you should maybe sell that for its appropriate representation. Through higher signaling rates, language is a signal, a vehicular signal, and more efficient transfer through an optional I/O keying protocol. Revision 1.0 of the specification was released in January 2003, and serial SATA industry compatibility specifications originate from the Serial ATA International Organizations. The SATA I/O group collaboratively creates reviews, ratifies, and publishes the interoperability specifications, the test cases, and plug fest. This is like any other kind of fest. It's just a gathering, a business fest. This is a business fest for advanced technologies called the plug fest. And you plug in those buses into a interface board, internet technology, an information technology board. That's circuitry. And then it has circuit, currency. As with many other industry compatibility standards, the SATA content ownership is transferred to other industry bodies, primarily Insights T13 and an Insights T10 subcommittee, SCSI subgroup of T10 responsible for serial attached SCSI, SAS. This is all just acronyms. All showing how it's still the same, it's just advanced and is capable of perceiving the data elements in a chain of action and keeping them in a serial motion rather than having to compare them with an individual record somewhere else. Before SATA's introduction in 2000, PATA was simply known as ATA, the AT attachment, the Advanced Technology Attachment. And then it was Parallel, and now it's Serial. Originated after the 1984 release of the IBM Personal Computer AT, Advanced Technology. More commonly known as the IBM AT. The IBM AT's controller interface became a de facto industry interface for the inclusion of hard disks. That little storage device you have that has that little SD card. Same thing, just a different representation of a hard disk that can store information as a bus that is plugged in into an interface. ATM was IBM's abbreviation for Advanced Technology. Thus, many companies and organizations indicate SATA is an abbreviation for Serial Advanced Technology Attachment. However, the ATA specifications simply use the name AT attachment to avoid possible trademark issues with IBM. SATA host adapters, of which they adopted, distinguishing here the adoption, and now they're going to adapt, and devices communicate via high-speed serial cable over two pairs of conductors. In contrast, Parallel ATA, the redesignation for the legacy ATA specifications, uses a 16-bit wide data bus with many additional support and control signals. In other words, a lingua franca of a mix of different languages that can be used, and you can make a selection of those signals, languages, services, all operating at a much lower frequency. To ensure backward compatibility with legacy ATA software applications, SATA uses the same basic ATA and AT-API command sets. If then, go to. And like I've said, people, everything is based on a command. If then, go to. Let your yea be your yea, your nay be your nay. And you're not supposed to be bearing false witness on your brother, even if that brother is the spitting image and likeness of you. Even if that spitting image and likeness of you is that name and number that you yourself put down. It's a definite distinction to determine who you are. You are not the SATA. You are not this metaverse. But the information that you put in is certainly a reflection of that. Let's look at the next one. The NIST, as we were talking about that cage code and being caged up in this metaverse and in the contracting and all the the idiocy of the fiction of the English language that you were told to remember for its certain uses, but never instructed as to the beauty of how you can use it to prove what they're saying is wrong. I'm just doing my job. You're supposed to do this. No, I'm not. Show where I'm supposed to have an ID. Then you can go on to the next step of proving how you have the authority to ask for it. To me, it's simple reason and logic through a serial need for certain information that would be able to be based on that ID or requirement of. So the next one is, what did I say? NIST, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Remember it said novation, changing the name? That's what a novation is. Innovation. So again, I'll repeat. I'll make 50 profiles. I'll make 100 profiles. I'll make 3,000 profiles. You cannot stop that which the truth merits. That's my only intent. And I'll do it by whatever means necessary. I think it's pretty simple to defeat you without fighting, simply by creating another goddamn character. Oops. Working with industry and academia to enhance economic security and improve our quality of life. Service and resources. Remember, I talked about sources and resources. Now they're going to provide services and give you the resources for those services, because now they've got some idiot that's willing to be a postal contract unit and offer up a residential ID with a minimum listing agreement stating that he's using the legal name as a contractor in the trust under that securitized street legal name. Name and address and the whole thing. Yep, I'm the receiver. Send it right here. I'll pay that bill. If you don't understand what you've been undertaking, you want to understand how to novate and rename. You want to understand how to resurrect by salvation, redemption, and merge with a new name. It's all scriptural, folks. These people are just restating the same thing. You're just not comprehending it. Again, I can explain it to you, but I can't comprehend it for you. So I hope by showing you repetitively that they're saying the same damn thing. Go with it. Explain to me how I need a cage code. Explain to me how I need a social security number. Explain to me how I need a tax identification number or taxpayer identification number. Explain to me how I'm supposed to owe anybody taxes when the scripture says, owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law. Now, I'm not here to destroy your law. I'm only here to fulfill the law. And I'm telling you, brother, I love you. That's it. Take it beyond that. It's your discernment. So when it comes to, and here we see laboratories, lab oratories. Lab oratories. Again, you are sanctified and ordained. And yes, you do live in this world, but you are not of this world. So despite all of your rage, yes, you are still in a cage. So understand what the commercial and government entity is, its purpose, its intent, and rise up and condemn that judgment. Extramural programs. Grams as in weight. Pro as in projecting, as in future. As in proposal. Future, future weight. Extramural programs. They want to program you so you can get better at something and provide a greater weight, a greater effect, extra mural and image and likeness. Look in the mirror. It's that man that you have to satisfy. Is he following the will that is in his heart, or is he following some fake will in his mind? And again, I want to take a moment to remind everybody, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I appreciate everybody's support. Please hit the PayPal link down in the details section if you care to share some love. And I'm going to drop the panel link in case anybody wants to join. And anybody got anything to say here? Or?
I mean,
Right.
the more I look at it, I mean, those similarities are all across all of it. So these people don't have a leg to stand on if everybody just stood up and started respecting each other and having communications and bringing value to these communities. It's almost mind blowing what could happen.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't understand why people don't just sit back and take a few minutes to look at some of the stuff that I've been putting out, and they would maybe be intrigued and say, "Wait a minute, maybe he's right." But you know, if 15 viewers, you know, been doing this for 6 years just here on YouTube, or 5 years here on YouTube, 7 years on Facebook.
Well, you know, that bag of tricks, it's you know, you
Well,
get caught up in the wrong bag, buddy, and
well,
you fall outside of what's true, right, and just.
Well, it comes down, I think, to that Dunning-Kruger effect. Again, I'm not the guru. I'm not the know-it-all. I'm not going to profess to be any kind of leader or anything. The only thing I'm going to lead myself in is the one path that I see, and that is continue to learn what I observe before me in a peaceful manner so I can do my best to make it a good, effective outcome with it. Even if I
Right.
have a bad outcome of some sort of loss, harm, or injury, even upon myself or someone else, I still then have to be able to look back, reflect upon that, and make an improvement. That means even that I have to learn from. So it's not just the profitable aspects that we learn from.
Well, if we look at that even from a spiritual standpoint and look at the money system as it is today, you know, you got your classes. This makes this makes this, and this makes this. Well, we already know from that spiritual foundation that, you know, there's people losing in that game of owing no man nothing, and to love one another and to be helpful. But yet you're okay with sitting up here making 300 G's a year while you got people struggling at $16,000-$20,000 a year. And somehow all of these people think that that's okay. And in this way, you get what you put in. I mean, it's not harming anyone.
Absolutely, and this is why I get frustrated um, with people that want to say that I'm frauding or anything. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm doing this. Yeah, I asked for contributions, shares of love through the PayPal link, but who doesn't? And I'm not monetized. I'm not ever going to monetize. That is not my intent. And again, operating on a doctrine of necessity, I only use them because of that necessity. There are certain things that would most certainly make my life a little bit better, so I could improve the information and sharing that I do, and I could get out in the community more and do other various things actively, such as taking upon expense of my own to help share and educate others by renting open venues instead of trying to invite people to my own private quarters. You know, there are things in the community that I could do that would take upon some small expenses that I just don't have. So yeah, the contributions are appreciated very much, but all credence, again, no matter what form, goes to him. That's the only reason I do it. So if I can't do it through those contributions, then I guess it's not meant for me, and I'm not going to struggle for it. I still have everything I need. So let's take a look at the next thing here.
You know what they say, all we need is a little love.
Yep. And that is when it comes to that principal place of business and you going out and getting a job and filing those tax papers and everything, there's a North American industry classification system. I mean, that's what you said. You just spoke about here a minute ago. Is it's about a class, you know, and they're classifying you this or that. And so we have the historical, national, oh damn it again. NIST means North American. I said national, that's why I was off. North American Industry Classification System is the standard is the standard used by federal statistical agencies in classifying entity establishments. Remember, the entity was established as a legal name at enumeration at birth, and that was where it was classified as a resident, a federal, state, or municipal officer or agent whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board. Why? Because it chiefly affects the police and the collection of public revenue and taxes. For the purpose of collecting, analyzing, publishing statistical data related to the U.S. business economy, wherein you were enumerated as a citizen, a United States business, and therefore it required the analyzing of your actions in records that were published statistically, that they collect and have a commercial value and a historical value. It's amazing how the North American industry classification system is at such a variance, because that's the next one as I get ready to close out here. Here we have Electronic Code of Federal Regulations, Title 40, Protection of Environment. Again, you're a man, which is limited, but which includes, but or an animal, which includes, but is not limited to man. And it's the animals that are protected in the Wildlife and Fisheries Environmental Protection Act. Affluent guidelines and standards. So again, we're talking about standards. And it says variances from categorical pretreatment standards for fundamentally different factors. You know, like benefactors. You know, because nobody took into consideration the benefactor. And fundamentally, differently, they categorized the person, and nobody wants to even cognize the benefactor. The term requester means an industrial user, or POTW, or other interested person. What is a PTOW?
POTW, isn't it?
Yeah, PTOW. Oh, POTW. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm dyslexic, folks. I'm publicly owned treatment works. Interesting. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
No, why you think that wasn't highlighted to where you can?
National Emission Standards for Hazardous Air Pollutants. Remember the definition of pollutants, gentlemen. The discharge of semen without sex. Are you discharging your semen without having intercourse out into the air? Goodness gracious, guys, you should quit that. Publicly owned treatment works. How's that treatment been working out for you now that you're publicly owned and you know it? Again, that says state of Iowa on that fucking ID, you bitch ass slave. And again, I too was that bitch ass slave before. I too was the one that didn't know I was a contract postal unit. And I'm telling you what, I was a big fucking unit. I was a fool. Talk about a unit. Or other interested persons seeking a variance from the limits specified in a categorical pretreatment standard. Means the reduction of the amount of pollutants, the elimination of pollutants, or the alteration of the nature of pollutant properties in wastewater. You guys, you guys are shooting off your wad out into the air and letting it land in the water. What a waste. No wonder you're called a consumer. You're destroying and wasting water. Pathetic. Prior to or in lieu of discharging or otherwise introducing such pollutants into a POTW. Huh. Oops, and I'm not even showing you. There you go. Pre-treatment. From here, pre-treatment. The term pre-treatment means a reduction in the amount of pollutants. Can we define pollutants? As far as I know, pollutants is a discharge of semen without having sex. Purpose and scope in establishing categorical pre-treatment standards for existing sources. Existing sources. So once they have something come into existence, it's an existing source. Is it in fact a resource from the original source? Is that what's left out, that memorandum of a legacy heir? And instead of having that announced and heralded out into the public, they published a legal name. The EPA will take into account all the information it can collect. Will take into account all the information it can collect. Develop and solicit. Understand that. Develop and solicit. Regarding the factors relevant to pretreatment standards under Section 307B. In some cases, information which may affect these pretreatment standards will not be available or for other reasons will not be considered during the development. What about the development of that man? You know, he was born as a wild animal. And it was only the indoctrination and education and propaganda of some literal system of communication that says otherwise. It's only that system of education of the word that says he's not a wild animal, but that he's in fact a man, that he's a human, that he's a male or a woman or a female, that he's a boy or a girl, that he's beautiful or ugly, that she's beautiful or ugly.
Are you courting someone?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. See, these are all the data elements that they look for, and that's what they're doing. And you're allowing them to create an image and likeness of one that they want to rape and control. That's their dirty little secret that they want to put and chain up in their cage and masturbate all over and defile. As a result, it may be necessary on a case-by-case basis to adjust the limits in categorical pretreatments. See that? I missed it earlier, but they got this word "in" highlighted. In means inch. In means inch. Why is that? Why does it say that? Anybody tell me that? Anybody explain that to me? It's like an unsolvable mathematical equation. Unless you actually take a look at what they did here. See, this doesn't have a period. Okay? Whereas when you click on it, this does. Okay? So again, you know, maybe it's because you were born 20.15 inches long. I don't know. Maybe that's the limit. Is that the limit in categorical pretreatment standards? The pretreatment standard, is that a representative of value by weight or size? I don't know.
Seems we gave them an inch and they took a mile.
Yeah. Making them either more or less stringent as they apply to certain industrial user. What's an industrial user? Or user means a source of indirect discharge. Am I obligated to discharge? See, it says here the term industrial user or user means a source of indirect discharge. So as an individual, wouldn't that preclude that I'm supposed to direct the discharge? I mean, I'm just asking again.
Would that only be if you were in business?
Well, no. If you're in business, then you're the industrial.
Yeah.
You're the industrial user. Means a source of indirect discharge. See, if you're a contractor, you're charging each other, right?
Right.
So where's the discharge? If everybody's agreeing to charge each other quid quo pro, this for that. See, I've always lived my life on the basis that things are supposed to be a gift. In that, if you just have patience and you understand and appreciate the gift for what it is, it's an expression of somebody's talents. So I've got a buddy of mine that I talked to today, and he just got out of prison, but he's developed a talent of oil painting, pastels and stuff. And he's been making these paintings for people and gifting them out. And I explained to him, I said, yeah, that's a great idea, and I see you appreciating that, but I just want to give you my own insight as myself. I'm an artist, and I used to do the same thing. And it got to a point where people really liked my stuff, and so they started buying them. And I lost interest in it in myself because people were putting a value on it where I didn't put that kind of value on it. I didn't put a monetary value on it. I put my deep-seated appreciation for the work that I did, knowing that the person that received it accepted it for the gift that I gave them. My mom, I never used to go out and buy any kind of cards for my family for holidays or anything. I always used to make my own. And my mom always said, you know, Keith, that's the most wonderful thing I appreciate more than anything. You always create your own cards. That's appreciation. There's nothing more valuable in that than somebody else sharing that appreciation back, telling you in return that you did good work. That's it. It needs nothing more. Even the giving of something, it needs nothing more than somebody saying, hey, thanks, I appreciate it. I get to use that. I use it every day. Or you get to watch them use it on a regular basis. You get to watch them wear that t-shirt that you bought them because you thought it fit their personality. And so they wear it on a regular basis because, yeah, they appreciate it too and agree. Yeah, it does fit my personality. Image and likeness and actions speak louder than words. This will only be done if data specific to that industrial user indicates it presents factors fundamentally different from those considered by EPA in developing the limit at issue. The limit at issue. So when they issue the application, what is the limit? Well, it says on the application I've got to admit that I'm a resident and give them a name and address. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. I believe I have a contract with the government as a bona fide representative already that says equal consideration, equal benefit, quid pro quo. And as that bona fide representative, I get to use a card to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit for said variances from categorical pretreatment standards fundamentally different. Because I'm the benefactor. Nothing more, nothing less. Why would I have to explain anything more? The enumeration at birth is a standard method for classifying people through a commercial entity enumeration system by using a translation of a given name and family name into a legal name. That is merely an establishment that never developed because nobody was taught how to, and therefore never attempted to. They were indoctrinated into believing that we had to fill out an SS5 and just let the state administrate it through the Social Security Administration. You got qualified insurance there. You were a Medicare qualified government employee the day you were born. Funny how that works, huh? So there are inherently impossibilities because of the inconsistencies and the timing of the record that prove no such thing was ever developed, despite the fact that it may have been established in the record. The record never went beyond that. It never developed beyond that. And with that, it brings us to the end of our stream tonight. Again, I want to let everybody know I appreciate your time and support. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. There's always the PayPal link down below. And words on the way out the door, guys. What's on your mind and in your heart? Tell me, I need to know. If you're speaking, warrior of truth, we cannot hear you. Yeah, we can't hear you, brother. If you're speaking, warrior of truth, we cannot hear you. Go ahead and duck out, come back in. I'll be here.
I'll go ahead and go next in while he has those technical difficulties. I'll end with a little Charlie Chaplin. You need power only when you want to do something harmful. Otherwise, love is enough to get anything done. So I'll remind everybody again, be the change you wish to see, people. And educating the mind without educating the heart, there's no education at all. Much love.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. And you're absolutely correct on that. Like I said earlier, if you're not going to lead your mind with your heart, then all of that information you have up there is not going to do you any good. Greetings, warrior of truth. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
We got you, brother. We got you.
All right. Well, I was just saying that it all comes down to the first Semitic principle for me, that the universe is mental and everything's a mental creation. And this is why the world's so screwed up, because people, their own thoughts betray them. And people aren't connected to their heart. They think, but they don't feel. And it's just totally disconnected. And that's where you get into trouble. All these thoughts in your mind, and you have this solid belief you think is the right way or the correct way. And you don't know because you're not fully connected to the heart.
Well, and that's because
I'm a simple man, I want to live a simple life. I don't want to read for 10 more years to understand their bullshit. I just want to be free and be able to coexist with other people and men and women that want to, live free and be together and help each other. Not all this bullshit.
Well,
it's
yeah,
frustrating because,
and
like I work so much, it's hard.
Yeah, when it comes to that mentality you were speaking about, that's in correlation to the heart, folks. I'm telling you what. You don't want to be my friend. Why is that? It's because I've got a hard heart. And when it comes to the mind, that is supplemental. Think about that term, mental and supple. It's the mind that's soft. It's the mind that's weak. It's the heart that's strong and beats every second, while the thought might miss a beat.
Yeah. And when those aren't connected, it's really hard to discern the truth because your mind's going to tell you one thing and your heart tells you another, and it's disconnected, man. I see it with Paul and everyone else that think they know everything, but you're not connected to your heart when you speak to other people the way you do. Like, you can think a million different thoughts, but you need to know when you hold your tongue and not say stupid shit.
Yeah, and that's what I get
You
people
know?
on, you know. He talks about, and not to drag it in, but he talks about getting people on their stupid shit. You know, hey, listen, you told me it wasn't the platform me to be speaking my stuff, so I agree. I'm agreeing. I'm not butthurt. And then you
Yeah.
turn around and tell people that you don't respect me. I never said that. I never even knew that. I thought we were, you know, getting a good relationship going. And it
I
seems
thought so.
only because I said, okay, well, I won't be back on panel because he's the one that set that limit. Okay. Then he turns around and sets another limit and says he's going to excommunicate me. So I'm going to sit here and patiently wait. And like I said, anytime I need to create a new profile so I can communicate, I will do so. He's going to have a hard time excommunicating somebody that's already solved that problem. You cannot keep me from communicating with my Father who counsels me in solutions such as this. Why do you think YouTube can't excommunicate me?
Yeah, no, I've thought about going up on the panel over there, and I'm like, I'm not even going to do it because I don't feel like arguing or fighting with other people. Like, having a conversation is one thing, but I'm not getting into no big battle to prove who I am to anybody. I
Yeah,
don't need to.
and that's the whole point of it. I'm not here to prove I'm a leader or a guru or anything.
No, you're here to share knowledge. What's the problem with that?
So anybody that's looking for that and that kind of accountability, you'll have to find it somewhere else because that's not what I account for. Again, I'm only accounting for my experiences through my research and observances and how I interpret them. I can explain it to you. I can't comprehend it for you. That's it. It's my opinion. You don't like it? Okay, I agree.
That's the way it should be. We all have different perspectives.
Yeah, and so anyway, we're gonna scoot out. 5-speed, much love. Yes, everybody. Send me all the books that you don't want to read. I'll read them. I'm going to hang on to as many as I can and reread them as much as I need until I can perfect it myself and memorize it. This is one of those things that I do, but I always recommend that there's plenty more out there. You can print them offline, most of them. I've got a whole drawer full of them right here. I do it myself. It's not just that's my library. I've got all these others. Wrong drawer. All these others that I print up and bind myself. Printed them off my own printer and then bind them up myself. This is the Plain Writing Act, Public Law 111-274, amongst many others. And I got a whole drawer here full of them. I urge everybody to start doing this. This internet, like I said, is a wonderful and amazing thing, just as much as the English language is a wonderful and amazing thing. It's the greatest library that we've ever had available to mankind.
And people use it to watch funny cat videos. What the hell?
Which is fine, you know, if that's the kind of mentality you want to base your life in. Again, sitting on a couch watching the boob tube, some kind of dramatic or comical life, whether it be cartoon or for real, sucking down the poisonous drinks and gluttony, gobbling the fucking processed foods and everything. It's not going to do you too much good when it comes to the pearly gate and having your heart weighed against the weight of a feather. How light are you going to travel? See,
Exactly.
I don't need all these materialistic things. I don't need the metaversal things here. It's just a venue where I get to express myself, and I find it a good venue, and I find a lot of people that have a right to know it, and you're not going to stop that. That's just facetious,
Yeah.
pretentious. So anyway, I'm out, and yes, sister, I will hang out for a couple minutes after we close out. And so with that, I'll go ahead and close out myself now. And unless you got something you want to say specifically, real quick, sister.
Just all uh, everything is to the Most High. I mean, I love my family, my earth family, my extended family. I love my babies. I love everybody's in this energy with me. So it is what it is. Peace and love. That's it.
Yep. And that's what I like about you, sister. You flow with it so well. I know a lot of the trials and tribulations you've been going through, and there's times it might break a guy's heart, but I see it as that steadfastness and strength in spirit. I always appreciate that. All right, with that, you guys know I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. So may God bless you, and have a good night. All right, greetings, sister.
Greetings, brother. How are you?
I am getting tired.
You know, I it's I look at my life and I look at my journey, and I know the numbers that the Most High had given me was based on the Trinity, and I
Oops.
just
Hold on.